Electric vehicles are being hailed as the green solution to our environmental crisis, but this shiny veneer hides a dark reality. Behind the zero emissions hype lies a web of environmental devastation and human suffering that is too often ignored. From child labor in cobalt mines to the potential environmental issues that EV batteries are about to cause, the true cost of EVs is anything but clean. So let's uncover 4 inconvenient truths about the environmental and ethical impacts of the EV industry. Short lifespan. Let's start with something that's not getting enough attention in all the hype around electric vehicles, or EVs. The lifespan of these so-called green machines. People love to praise EVs as the saviors of our planet, but when you dig a little deeper, the story isn't quite so rosy. Think about your traditional gas-powered car. It's built to last. With proper maintenance, these cars can run for 20 years or more. That's 2 decades of utility before you can think about sending them to the scrapyard. This longevity is a big deal when we're talking about sustainability, because it means fewer cars are produced, fewer resources are consumed, and less waste is generated. It's a clear win for the environment, right? Now let's look at EVs. They're being marketed like the latest smartphone, something you replace every few years to get the newest features. Consumers are constantly encouraged to upgrade to the latest model, which means these vehicles are treated more like disposable gadgets than long-term investments. The result? A revolving door of EVs with old models quickly becoming obsolete and ending up as electronic waste. This frequent turnover isn't just bad for your wallet, it is a disaster for the planet. The production of EVs requires a massive amount of resources. The mining of lithium, cobalt, and other rare earth metals needed for their batteries is highly destructive and energy intensive. So every time a new EV hits the market, we're not just talking about a shiny new car. We're talking about another round of resource extraction, another spike in pollution, and another batch of batteries that will eventually need to be disposed of. In essence, the push for newer and better EVs every few years is creating a vicious cycle of consumption and waste. Instead of a sustainable solution, we're left with a system that is churning out vehicles at an unsustainable rate, depleting our natural resources and leaving behind a trail of hazardous waste. Terrible battery life and replacement. Next up is another critical aspect of electric vehicles that is often swept under the rug: battery life and replacement. The pro-EV crowd loves to paint a rosy picture, claiming that these batteries will last as long as the vehicle itself, but let's get real. That is nothing more than wishful thinking. First off, let's talk about the nature of EV batteries. They rely on chemical reactions to store and release energy, and over time, these reactions lead to degradation. It's just how chemistry works, there's no getting around it. No matter how advanced the technology gets, the fact remains that these batteries will degrade over time, losing capacity and efficiency. Within a decade, you're likely to notice a significant drop in performance, and by 15 years, well, many EV batteries are well on their way to becoming useless. Now, let's compare this to traditional mechanical engines. With regular maintenance, a gasoline engine can run for decades. We're talking 20, 25, hey, even 30 years in some cases. Sure, some parts might need replacing, and you'll need to stay on top of oil changes and tune-ups, but the core engine can keep going strong. It's built to last, a reliable workhorse that with a bit of TLC can serve you well beyond its warranty period. EV batteries, on the other hand, are a different story. Once they degrade to a certain point, replacement is often the only option. And here's the kicker: replacing an EV battery is no small feat. It's not just about the cost, which can run to tens of thousands of dollars, by the way. It's also about the environmental impact. The production of a new battery involves significant resource extraction and energy consumption, as well as all the pollution that comes along with it. And what happens to the old batteries? Well, they don't just disappear. Disposal of these batteries poses a serious environmental challenge. They contain hazardous materials that, if not properly managed, can contaminate soil and water. Recycling is an option, but it's complex, expensive, and far from perfect. We're talking about a massive amount of electronic waste that's difficult to handle and dangerous to ignore. So what does this mean for the EV owner? It means that after about 15 years, your EV could be worthless. The battery, the heart of the vehicle, could fail, leaving you with a choice: spend a fortune on a replacement or scrap the car entirely. It's not just an economic issue, it's an environmental disaster. More cars ending up in junkyards, more resources needed for new batteries, and more toxic waste piling up. Financial debacle. Next, let's talk about money. Everyone loves to rave how EVs are the future, but no one seems to mention the financial roller coaster ride that comes with owning one. If you think buying an EV is a solid financial decision, well, think again. Let's dive into the financial and depreciation issues that are lurking beneath this shiny, futuristic facade of EVs. First off, EV owners are often advised to keep their vehicles for only about 2 years. Why? Because depreciation is a major concern. Unlike traditional cars, which lose value gradually, EVs depreciate rapidly. This is primarily due to the fast-paced evolution of EV technology. Every year, new models come out with better batteries, longer ranges, and more advanced features. The constant innovation makes older models obsolete much faster than traditional vehicles. So if you buy an EV today, it's gonna lose value significantly as soon as the next generation hits the market. And it gets worse. The steepest drop in EV's value happens right after the battery warranty expires. Most EV batteries come with an 8-year warranty, and once that period's over, the car's resale value plummets because of the high replacement costs and uncertainty about the remaining battery life. This uncertainty drives down the resale value, leaving current owners with a vehicle that's worth a fraction of its original price. Contrast this with traditional gasoline vehicles. Yeah, they depreciate too, but not nearly at the same rate. A well-maintained gas car can hold its value for many years, especially models known for their reliability. Plus, there's a robust market for used parts and engines, making repairs and maintenance more affordable and extending the life of the vehicle. The financial hit from depreciation isn't just a major inconvenience. It is a serious issue that can impact your wallet in a big way. If you're advised to sell your EV after just 2 years to avoid the worst of the depreciation, you're looking at a perpetual cycle of buying high and selling low. This constant turnover isn't just financially unsound, it's also environmentally problematic. More frequent vehicle replacement means more production, more resource extraction, and more waste. Furthermore, the cost of replacing an EV battery, often running into the tens of thousands of dollars, adds another layer of financial strain. Once the battery warranty expires, you're faced with the prospect of either paying for an expensive replacement or dealing with a car that's rapidly losing its functionality and value. The looming expense makes EV ownership a risky financial proposition, one that most aren't willing to take. Environmental disaster. Finally, let's dive into the environmental and ethical quagmire that the EV industry is mired in. So, while we're being sold the dream of net zero emissions and a cleaner planet, the reality is far murkier. The drive for net zero emissions often overlooks some severe environmental and ethical impacts that come with EVs. Let's pull back the curtain on this greenwashed fantasy. First, let's talk about cobalt. This shiny metal is a crucial component in the batteries that power EVs. But where does cobalt come from? A significant portion comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a country plagued by conflict and poverty. The conditions under which cobalt is mined there are downright horrific. That means child labor, unsafe working conditions, and human rights abuses on a massive scale. Children, some as young as 7, are working in these mines for a pittance, risking their lives so we can drive a shiny new EV. It's modern-day slavery hidden behind the guise of clean energy. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. The production of EV batteries also requires a lot of other rare earth metals, and mining for these is no walk in the park. The process is incredibly destructive to the environment. Entire ecosystems are being ravaged to extract these materials. Forests are being cut down, water sources polluted, and wildlife habitats destroyed. This isn't saving the planet. It's tearing it apart. And let's not forget about the deforestation for wind and solar farms, which are often touted as green alternatives to fossil fuels. While these renewable energy sources have their benefits, the rush to expand them can lead to significant environmental destruction. Large tracts of protected forests are being cleared out to make way for wind turbines and solar panels. Trees, which are crucial for absorbing carbon dioxide, are being sacrificed in the name of reducing carbon emissions. It's a paradox that is hard to justify. The extensive mining required for these rare earth elements also leaves a toxic legacy. The waste from mining operations often contains harmful chemicals that can leach into the soil and water, contaminating them for generations. Communities near these mines face severe health risks, including cancer, respiratory issues, and other chronic diseases. The environmental cost of this supposedly green technology is staggering. And here's the kicker. All these environmental and ethical issues are conveniently swept under the rug in the name of achieving a net zero emissions. We're so focused on reducing tailpipe emissions that we're ignoring the massive carbon footprint and human suffering involved in producing these vehicles. It is a classic case of out of sight, out of mind. As long as these emissions aren't happening in our backyard, we're willing to turn a blind eye. This really isn't just hypocrisy, it's a dangerous delusion. We can't call something sustainable if it relies on the exploitation of vulnerable populations and the destruction of the environment we're trying to save in the process. True sustainability means looking at the entire life cycle of a product, from the mining of raw materials to the disposal of the vehicle. And when we do that with EVs, the picture isn't pretty. So next time someone touts the virtues of electric vehicles and their zero emissions, remember the hidden cost. Remember those children in the Congo, the decimated forests, and the poisoned water. The drive for net zero emissions should not come at the expense of ethical considerations and environmental stewardship. We need a holistic approach to sustainability, one that considers human rights and the health of our planet as integral parts of the equation. If we really care about the environment, we need to break free from this throwaway mentality that EVs embody. Instead of constantly upgrading to the newest model, we should focus on longevity and sustainability. Invest in quality, not novelty, because at the end of the day, treating vehicles like disposable items is not saving the planet. It's accelerating its destruction.